parachute.
Like a couple Bitcoins.
Money,
Pull up on my Nakamoto.
Hello, hello. Welcome to the Blockchain Dynamic Show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
We're here. We're just chilling. This is Error by Trial Radio.
And it is Sunday, October 8th, 2017.
My name is Brandon Doge.
And I am Woody.
And we're calling this episode number 82.
And
hot dog.
This, as you're used to, this week's show is brought to you by Cryptopia.
That's right. The website, cryptopia.co.nz. You're going to want to check them out. They are a cryptocurrency trading platform.
It's really amazing how far Cryptopia has come in the last year and a half.
They're piling on the futures, man. You can tell you can just tell when you go to the website that they are constantly updating it. The latest one you might check out is they have like the order book depth visualization. They've embedded it into the order book in kind of a cool way. You're going to want to check that out. They also have that notification system, which has got to be one of the best features they have.
That's really handy to let you know if any of your trades have hit or anything while you've been gone.
Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised, honestly, that you don't see that at other places too. But
they have a forum over on Cryptopia, and they have a altcoin section there. We have a thread stickied at the top, and that's a great way to get in contact with us. Feel free to leave us messages there.
Yeah, you're going to want to come check out the thread. We haven't forgotten our thread suggestions. I'm sure we'll come back and revisit some of those.
Yep.
Let's see here. What else we got going on? Dot giveaway. So last week, the question was for our 5,000 dot giveaway was on the show that we did a year ago that day. What was one of the random coins? Because we did the random coin segment.
Right.
The answer would have been Curecoin or Orbitcoin.
Yep.
And someone got it, so the jackpot resets again this week. I think we're doing 5,000.
That's right.
Another 5K.
And this week is also our first time doing our kind of a little bit of a switch up. We're going to try doing a little deeper dive segment, and this week is going to specifically be a index roundup, or sort of a decentralized exchange roundup.
That's right. The world of dexes is hot these days, man. There's dexes everywhere.
Does dex just mean decentralized exchange then, Brando?
Don't mess with dexes.
Or does it mean something broader than that, like an index?
I think it just means decentralized exchange specifically.
All right.
An index is a totally different thing. An index is just like a sorted amalgamation of different coins or whatever product that you want the index to be based on. A dex is either an asset or a cryptocurrency exchange of some kind that has one or more of the central features are decentralized, and processed through nodes. More similar to a cryptocurrency than a traditional exchange.
Cool.
Of course, the thing about all these different dexes is they kind of all have different degrees to what you would even call them decentralized, right? Like one of the big institutional risks that's out there in crypto right now is this problem of the centralization of a lot of these assets on exchanges. Because kind of the true advantage of crypto, right, is that you can actually truly control these assets for yourself by having them in a wallet, and they are, in that sense, they're yours in a way that a coin that is just kind of held as a token on somebody else's exchange is not.
And it seems like these ones that we're going to look at have different ways of dealing with that too.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a big problem in crypto right now, where a huge percentage of all of the cryptocurrencies that are out there are held on these kind of handful of exchange wallets, and it creates an institutional risk in that sense.
Yeah, definitely. They become those points of where if people are going to try to hack something, it's probably going to be an exchange, right?
Exactly. So the grand promise of the decentralized exchange is that it's going to give us all of the exchange experience that we know and love, but allow us to retain control of our private keys and have the exchange be, if it were truly decentralized, in the sense or on the scale that something like Bitcoin or Ethereum is, then that would mean that, it could run essentially without any consent. It would just kind of be unstoppable in that sense. So I think that's like the ultimate dream, end goal, vision.
Right. It's definitely in the event that any like Authority wanted to shut down some exchanges, then the group of people that were using that exchange could start using a decentralized one without, like you were saying, really being able to be stopped maybe.
Right, and with exchanges, one of the problem, when you talk about authority, it's not just the government, it's the people that own these exchanges or the internal second parties and stuff
Right.
are often the biggest point of risk for these things. There's no guarantee that they are running an ethical operation or that they're not just going to pack up and disappear at any given point. And so to have to have that actually be truly decentralized in an open source way would take a huge chunk of risk out of the equation. So it's not surprising that so many different projects are trying to tackle this problem.
And so we're going to just go through 5 or 6 different available options.
Right. There used to, you go back to 2 years, it would be like a couple of very preliminary options that were out there. Very, very little you could actually trade with. Now there's quite a few. Today we are going to look at Bitsquare, Heat Ledger, Bridgecoin, Waves, Blocknet, and Syscoin.
Right.
They're decentralized marketplace options.
All right. Should we do it?
Yep, let's roll.
Okay, so with Bitsquare, this is probably one of the older offerings in the space, or was one of the first ones that got people excited, right? They had a big launch.
Yeah, totally.
That
Yep.
didn't really get them very far, I guess, as far as adoption or getting a group of people to use the platform went. So for age here, I said maybe over a year. I'm pretty sure it's over a year.
Yeah,
but
I think Bitsquare's been around for at least a couple of years at this point.
the interface is pretty nice. It makes sense.
It's just like a traditional interface like you're used to, right? Order book, buy, sell, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
The decentralized portion of it runs through Tor, and it's a P2P network, like you can think back to Kaza or Napster, any of that stuff, right?
Yep.
So it's not a blockchain per se, but it's running on a decentralized network, and the liquidity on there is essentially non-existent. So you might look at something like 3 or 1 offer per pair is available on there.
Yeah, there's just no, a normal order book has hundreds and hundreds of orders on it. In a good case, some of these order books had like 2 or 3 orders. So basically no liquidity, unfortunately.
Fee-wise, it's a percentage-based fee, and it's based on something called the distance to market price formula, which was a little bit complicated to understand, honestly.
Yep. It seems like Bitsquare really kind of lies in the space of something that leans really high towards the decentralization aspect and maybe really low towards the kind of the actual usability aspect, I guess. There's just not a lot of people using it.
Right. Well, I feel like it would be very usable if it had that adoption, though. And I think a lot of these pieces that we'll look at probably fall into that category. One interesting thing about Bitsquare is that it supports 125 altcoins in their code right now.
That is cool.
Getting an altcoin on there isn't exactly difficult. And in fact, I think you can probably import your own, kind of without their permission as well if you needed to. But
do you know if when you go to execute a trade, is it held in escrow or is it something that closes immediately?
I don't understand how the escrow protection works on it.
There was one that came out a long time ago called coinswap.io where you would generate addresses for each other that you would send the coins to. It was kind of similar to, reminded me of Bitsquare a little bit, but at any rate, I feel like this kind of leans towards, it's like more extreme on the side of decentralization, less extreme on the side of usability, and you kind of end up with this situation where the real question is, everybody says that they want a decentralized exchange. They don't want all this money stored on the exchanges and all this stuff. But when it comes to how much usability they're actually willing to sacrifice to have that, it seems like it's really not all that much, right?
Right.
So, based on something like Bitsquare that does work and gets basically zero volume,
yeah,
that tells you that people, the quality of service that people are going to expect is probably going to have to be pretty close to what they're used to on exchanges to even start to pull away some of the volume.
Right, and it's great. I think it's going to be amazing to have something like this already be developed and available if it ever becomes more popular or necessary,
Right, we could get into an environment where some of the top exchanges start becoming unreliable again.
Right, who knows?
So that one is Bitsquare was the first one we looked at. The second decentralized exchange we looked at was the one for Heat Ledger. This coin kind of snuck in the 2016 ICO time frame. It was a CCX ICO, so that's something that normally is just generally don't have a good reputation, I guess you could say.
They were doing bad ICOs before bad ICOs were even a thing.
Yeah, exactly. They're hipsters for bad ICOs, but anyway, Heat Ledger is one of the ones that stands out because there actually was a actual project behind it. There's still the entire ecosystem is still out there. It's still running, and they are at this point probably one of the longest running actual dexes. So I got to give credit to Heat Ledger there, but they're still kind of just living in their own ecosystem. You know, there's not, as far as I know, they're mostly just traded still on their own internal exchange.
Is that the only place to even trade Heat right now?
I don't think so. It's probably still on CCX. I'm not sure.
I was just going to check to see.
That's a good question.
So what was your experience using the software?
The Heat Ledger wallet was actually really usable. The first nice thing about it is that it's built into a light wallet client. So, for instance, Bitsquare is just entirely in the browser. It's not even a blockchain. In the case of the Heat Ledger, you essentially can download a light wallet client with a browser-based interface, and that puts you in the advantageous position of still being in control of your private keys, which is one of the big things that people are usually going for with these dexes. And then you instantly have access to the exchange. But it uses like a multi-wallet system, right? So if you want to transact in Bitcoin, you're going to have to deposit Bitcoin into it. And it wasn't clear to me if I would assume that it's just a multi-wallet where you're in control of the Bitcoin private key as well. But it wasn't totally obvious.
Like your Bitcoin private key wasn't directly given to you or something that would make it obvious, like in that way?
Usually in that case, it's tied to the, maybe you have one private key for all the tokens. Like it just uses the same standard as Bitcoin or whatever. But at any rate, it was still pretty easy to try and deposit Bitcoin into it and everything. And then you right away have access to the exchange interface. The liquidity on the exchange, as with most of these, was pretty poor, but it wasn't non-existent. Their 24-hour volume on the total thing is about 17,000 USD, so maybe between 3 to 4 Bitcoins worth of total trading going on. And
most of that was inside of the Heat versus Bitcoin, I would imagine?
Maybe about a third of the overall volume was just in that one pair, which tends to be the case normally for these DEX DEX coins. You'll see that if it's for Waves or whatever, the Waves is going to be the dominant trading pair. This is the Heat wallet, so Heat is the dominant trading pair.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. It's interesting to see the extent to which coins can now survive just trading on their own wallets too. Did you see if this was traded anywhere else? Could you find
it is still on CCX.
Okay. As far as the exchange itself,
but it has 0 Bitcoin volume there.
Yeah,
if that
right.
says anything.
So basically, just traded on its own exchange at this point. The interface is similar. It has a normal exchange interface with like order book buy sell, and the way that you interact with it is when you place a buy. It appears to interact with the blockchain. It's hard to find documentation to prove a lot of what goes on with these, but you essentially pay a small fee in Heat every single time you place any kind of an order. So that's different than a normal exchange.
Or even cancel an order, right?
Yeah, exactly. Any interaction with the interface, essentially, you're going to pay a really small fee in Heat. It's like 50 Satoshi right now. But it is different than the normal standard where you pay a percentage of the actual trades you make. And it also doesn't scale with size. So if you make a large trade on this, you could theoretically make a huge trade and pay a fee of essentially nothing.
Huh, interesting.
Which I think that's one of the main potential advantages for DEXs at this point is their ability to kind of break away from the percentage-based fees and stuff that are they can be really disadvantageous the way that the standard crypto exchanges do the percentage fees, especially if you're doing large orders.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a big potential advantage for some of these DEXs going forward.
Yeah, one thing that just for the counterpoint of that, I would say is that you definitely aren't going to get a lot of support with this stuff, right?
Yeah, definitely not. No, it is. In that sense, you're kind of expected to just work with the system as is. I'm not sure to what extent these have support built into them. That would have been a good thing to poke more into, but
yeah. I didn't look very, like in regards to Bitsquare, I remember at least seeing something where they mentioned that, this isn't a company. We don't have certain amounts of resources, but that was like inside of the support section somewhere. So
yeah, as far as the decentralization on Heat, you do get the feeling that you're interacting with a decentralized system when you're placing these orders and stuff. But it also is clear that there are still some centralized points, which is kind of what we're finding on most of these DEXs. It's more a question of what aspects they've managed to distribute out to nodes and what aspects are still running through a central system. But for instance, the API and stuff is built into the client, so you can access that through the wallet.
Oh, that's cool.
Theoretically wouldn't require like a server endpoint or anything.
Nice.
So to that extent, they have achieved a high degree. But if the company operating this blockchain were to disappear completely, would the GUI DEX we know it continue to exist? I'm not sure if it would.
It's an interesting question. One way to test that would be to clone it.
Nice, yeah, that's true. Yep.
I don't know if everything's totally open source or whatever. We didn't look at that. Anyways, I think let's move to the next one.
Yep, that was Heat Ledger.
The next one is Crypto Bridge, related to Bridgecoin.
Crypto Bridge. This is a very new project.
Yeah, very new. The interface is actually really nice. It kind of just looks like a normal exchange like you'd expect, with the buys and sells on the right and left side, and it's got even a chart in there. The liquidity, once again, is very low, but it is, like we see with Heat Ledger, trading Heat, Bridgecoin, just trading Bridgecoin, and they're up to about $25,000 daily volume over there.
Which, if you think about it, in 2015 times, that would have been considered pretty decent volume.
Yeah, that's true. But if you look at, they have other listings over here. They've got Dash, and they've got PivX, and they've got Doge and XVG
right.
and stuff. There's no bids. There's literally one bid and one sell. So,
and people, I know I didn't mention with Heat, but you can create assets through it and create markets in it. So people have the potential to
I didn't know that.
Create unlimited number of markets, and I suspect it's the case with Bridge as well.
I don't know if it's the case with Bridge or not.
Oh, interesting. They're controlling the listing of markets potentially.
I definitely wondered about that, but I don't have the answer, to be honest. One thing that so as far as decentralization goes, I once again got to say I'm not really super sure about how the decentralization works, except it seems like this is based really heavily on BitShares to me, despite the fact that I can't find a lot of references to BitShares inside of the documentation or the thread or anything.
Right.
But when I look inside the wallet, there's they're trading against BitShares. There's a BitShares block explorer inside of their wallet.
Yeah, if you go to the block explorer in the Bridgecoin marketplace, it takes you to a BitShares block explorer.
Yeah, so I think that it would, to whatever extent they're related, I think it would be probably pretty safe to say that it's as decentralized as BitShares.
When I watched you looking at the Bridgecoin exchange, I was really impressed with the quality of the interface. Like Heat Ledger, for instance, had a usable interface. Like it has all of the things you need, but it didn't give the impression of kind of a well-designed, more modern website. Whereas the Bridgecoin interface did look pretty nice. A lot of these, they all I've noticed have small bugs and stuff.
Yeah,
and there's no.
While you were saying that, I felt like I needed to say as well. I've had some successful trades on here. But I've also had some that just say they can't be placed, and the errors are kind of frustrating because they really don't tell you much.
Mystifying.
And as far as, a larger audience wanting to participate inside of these exchanges, I know that that wouldn't fly for very long.
Yeah, and going back to Heat Ledger, to their credit, I did about a dozen transactions, and I didn't have any, no errors, and did anything unexpected.
The fees on there are 0.2%, and you can choose to have the fee be taken in Bridgecoin or BitShares, and then or on the Bitcoin market, it could be in Bitcoin as well.
That connection to BitShares is it's interesting, actually. I wonder if is it basically just BitShares on the back end is basically what that makes you wonder.
I think so.
Which, you think about it, it's easy to assume that isn't great, but especially with BitShares kind of getting rough news this week. We're kind of reminded of Monero, and was it Bytecoin that Monero was? What was the coin that Monero forked?
Byte sounds right.
At any rate, Monero was not the first crypto note ring signature coin, but they did essentially take the previous code and kind of essentially end up owning it and becoming the dominant coin in that space. So you could conceive of carrying the example forward to DEXs. If these things are truly open source, you could see a situation where somebody makes one exchange and eventually another developer or somebody comes along and kind of picks up the same code and surpasses it or whatever.
Yeah, or even just keeps piling things on top too, which I think is the case kind of with Bridgecoin on BitShares, if that's what's going on, or like in our honorable mentions with the Komodo SuperNet barter DEX, whatever the heck is going on there.
whatever.
You know what I mean?
To. Yeah, totally. Yep, I feel you.
People just keep stacking technologies on. Okay,
All right. That was the Bridgecoin decentralized market. Next up is Waves. This is probably the biggest decentralized exchange that is out there. The Waves DEX. The GUI version of this has only been out for about 6 months. My understanding is that you've been able to access it through the client command line for quite a bit longer, but I think for most people it really wasn't usable probably until quite recently. So much like Heat Ledger, the product is built into a browser-based light client, which means that you kind of create a wallet file and then the browser loads it and can interact with the blockchain that way. And so within the client, you have access to quite a few different wallets. It's got a Bitcoin wallet and an Ethereum wallet and a Waves wallet. And so you can trade against all of those different base pairs in the exchange. As far as the exchange itself, I would say it has an extremely simple interface. If anything, the Bridgecoin interface is actually probably better than the Waves DEX. But in terms of the actual reliability and liquidity on the exchange, it's noticeably better than really any of the other DEXs that are out there in terms of you can trade, like if you were to trade Waves BTC, the analog to trading Bridgecoin on the Bridge Exchange or Heat on the Heat Exchange. Mm-hmm. There's way more volume than either of those pairs by far. Way smaller spreads. You can actually trade it more practically than you would. And unlike any of the other DEXs that are out there right now, it also has actual volume on some of the secondary markets. The secondary market situation gets ridiculous for it because there's one of the things with Waves is anybody can create assets. And you can create them for extremely cheap, and they automatically can be traded on the DEX. They won't be identified by name.
They won't be listed, yeah.
You'll just see the private key essentially if you look for it, but
right.
Or not the private key, the public key of the asset will just be visible if you search for it. And so essentially that means that there's just jillions of markets on this thing. It can actually be hard to search for or find anything meaningful kind of in the mix. They really are lacking in some of the basic exchange features like volume rankings and market histories. They have kind of a candlestick chart, but there's no settings on it whatsoever. You can't go change the time frames on it or anything.
Yeah.
So they really don't have anything other than the most basic information required to trade, which is just the order book and the buy and sell options and a very simple chart. But that said, like I said, it still does have more volume on any of kind of secondary pairs and alternate markets than any of these other DEXs.
Nice.
And my experience with it has been that it's been extremely reliable. I've used this one for a couple months now, and I've never had really any sort of a meaningful issue. Sometimes you'll get some weird issues in the execution where it will show an order is open in your list when it's already executed and that kind of stuff. But as far as the actual matching and trades working and doing what you'd expect, it's been totally reliable. And
as far as fees go, this one's closest to Heat. From what we've looked at so far, it looks like it has a flat fee.
Yeah, it has a fixed fee, and unlike Heat where you pay for every interaction with the blockchain, so even on Heat Ledger, if you place an order, you pay a tiny fee. If you cancel an order, you pay a tiny fee to do that. With Waves, it looks like you only pay the fee on orders that where a trade is actually undergone, but it is a fixed fee, and the fee is a lot larger than what it is on Heat. It's 0.003 Waves, which still isn't a huge amount, but it's more than others. But it also doesn't scale with the size of the trade. So if you're making a large trade, the fee is really negligible.
Okay.
So yeah, honestly, the Waves DEX is a pretty solid platform right now. I feel like just for the advantages of having it be built into the client, that makes it super simple to register. You don't have to register. Essentially, the product is just out there for whatever private keys that you happen to control. And really usable. So I got to give them credit where it's due.
Okay. The next one we took a look at is the Blocknet.
Blocknet.
This one is probably one of the older ones on the list. It's about 3 years old. And the interface is just basically a Qt interface like a wallet.
Okay.
It actually is more of a facilitator of atomic swaps than it is an exchange, I would say. But there is a part in there where it sort of looks like an exchange because it has to list the availability of the swap before the other person can essentially accept it.
Yeah, so, right. So it really is like an atomic swap in that sense.
It literally is as well.
Okay, yep.
So, although the interface is simple in that regard, the setup is very involved, I would say, and most people. You need to have you need to have two wallets totally synced that support the atomic swap that they're going to do, and then you need to have the entire Blocknet wallet synced as well. And then you have to set up some configuration files for each of those wallets involved. And then you're basically able to go into the Blocknet wallet and trigger the atomic swap between those two places.
Wow. So that's the most involved of any of the processes, I guess, of any of the coins that we've looked at.
I didn't go through the whole process either. That's
right.
Just kind of me trying to explain what it would have taken.
Well, I guess that's on the decentralization scale, right? That's got to rank pretty high then.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say you almost need to arrange the swap like in outside of any sort of thing that the software provides to really make it worthwhile at this point.
And you can imagine an interface that somebody could build that could streamline that process or, break that out onto a separate market. But then at that point you're adding potentially another component of, a choke point of, some server somewhere that could go down.
So one cool thing that this leads to, though, is that there are no fees involved except for the transaction fees on the blockchains involved.
That is cool.
And you don't actually need any block to perform the function of the atomic swap through their software.
Right. Is it really that much easier then to use Blocknet to do the atomic swap than it would be to just do the atomic swap through the
I don't know if
chains?
it would be, honestly.
That's my question on that one.
Yeah.
It's cool to see that they're getting into the mix.
It might be at some point, though. I don't know. But no, I don't know. I haven't. It seems like a lot of work either way to me at the moment.
Interesting. That's still one of the oldest decentralized projects. That is Blocknet. Last up on our list here of dexes is Syscoin. Syscoin. This is like an ICO, I think, from 2014. They famously and sadly lost a huge portion of their ICO funds to MintPal.
Old school ICO.
Yep, to the MintPal shenanigans.
But they kept at it.
They kept trucking. They survived. They fought through it. Really, honestly, a consistent and persistent dev team at Syscoin have kept this coin afloat in a big way. But their actual DEX solution is quite recent. The version I was looking at, I think, is actually less than a month old.
What'd you think?
Well, let's see. I just forgot the name of it. One sec. I think it's called Block Market. Yeah, the name of the product is Block Market. And it's essentially... This one was more of a classified system than... I think any of the other ones that we've looked at, which were all, kind of more reminiscent of the familiar cryptocurrency exchange and we're used to. This was more of like a Craigslist type situation where people will post listings and they're categorized and they have prices and there's like an escrow system. So it's more unlike any of the others.
Like physical goods.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, stuff like boots and...
Yeah.
Of course, the problem that it had, which is the problem that a lot of these do, is there's nobody actually trading anything on it.
Right.
And it kind of, again, it reminded me a little bit too much of the Craigslist vibe, because that's not. It seems like that's kind of been tried before and hasn't really received adoption in the past. The obvious example is Coin, which was kind of a hilarious shit show, but they did have those classified listings, if nothing else.
Right.
And the problem is, think about doing international classifieds. It's not like to sell some boots on a global classifieds platform page is not.
Sounds like a huge ordeal.
Yeah, exactly. But to their credit, the decentralization factor is high, right? It doesn't really require them to participate in any meaningful way. It's fully client-based, which is cool. Their interface is really solid as far as the type of service that they're providing. I think they have the best interface and usability for it that I've ever seen. So it could be that I'm just short-selling the idea, the concept of a general marketplace, but to the extent that is what they're going for, it's really well implemented so far.
Cool. We also thought we'd leave a few honorable mentions out there of ones that we didn't take super close looks at this week. INXT has an exchange that I've traded on before. BitShares is out there.
Can't forget BitShares.
And then whatever that Komodo SuperNet barter dex is. I'm definitely confused about what exactly is going on there. But
yeah, we were also debating whether Mothership falls into this category, but it seems like they're not even really trying for the dex angle. I think they're actually just going for the conventional exchange market.
Right.
So yeah, there's definitely a lot of different competitors in this space, and there's a lot of room for growth. The people are really interested in the idea of these dexes, but so far they haven't really been interested in actually using them, or any of the offerings that are out there.
Right. I got to say, like, when in 2013, 2014 area, people were kind of clamoring for this type of technology.
Yeah, it would have been a huge selling point.
It kind of was for some.
It would have
them,
been
right?
like the top selling point for an ICO or something back in that time frame.
Right.
And now a lot of those have delivered, and people just aren't interested anymore. The biggest volume was the Waves one with 333,000 daily volume. The second biggest is Bridgecoin right now at 25,000, and the third biggest was Heat Ledger at 17,000. And those are the ones that we could even really get volume numbers for. But
right.
Either way that you think about that, that's less than $400,000 volume for all of the functioning dexes that are out there right now. And then you look at all of the conventional exchanges are probably doing like $1 billion a day at this point. Plus.
It's getting up there a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, I have no idea.
So essentially, the potential for growth in this sector is still pretty huge.
All right,
that's it. That's the Dex Roundup.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it.
Rounding up dexes.
Let's take a look at some news.
Love the news here at Chain Dynamics. News. One thing we wanted to mention was a new website in the coin news universe.
Yeah, this is a cool little resource. Coinmarketcal, coinmarketcal.com.
Right, that's the plan. CoinMarketCap, I guess, obviously.
Yep.
So this is just a calendar of events for coin stuff. But they're catching a lot of the stuff that wouldn't make it to a news aggregator or something like Coin Forks, actual coin events.
Yeah, it's crowdsourced, so the validity of each entry is sort of voted on by the people that are using the website.
Right.
And over time, hopefully that acts as a filter, I guess.
There used to be a site called altcoincalendar.info or something that was really useful for keeping track of altcoin launches and stuff, and the market eventually changed in a way to make their service not as useful, so it's nice to have something trying to come up with a more modern approach to that.
Yeah, I think this is really cool.
I do have to say, though, I was kind of hoping to use this to help us with our news aggregating this week, but their service only goes forward in time, so I wanted to go back and see like what the events were from last week, and I couldn't find it anywhere.
I want to go backwards.
So if you guys are out there and you can show prior, give me the last couple of weeks' events so that I can catch up or something.
Cool.
But yeah, it's out there. Check it out. Other news this week, a small Chinese exchange, okEx, reported they were hacked.
Yeah.
They've been hacked.
I could barely remember that was this week for some reason. It felt like it was so long ago.
We're in crypto time, man. It's like it's a time warp. But what's weird is the damage was only 600 bitcoins, which is a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of crypto hacks, that's a pretty small scale. The exchange was probably really small too, but and you never know. Sometimes people will. It's conceivable that a mismanaged business would claim to be hacked when they really have just lost money.
Yeah,
but people are also getting hacked
it's also
all the
pretty,
time too, so there's no way to know.
I bet that they were just happy they didn't lose more. Probably. It sounds like it's maybe their little security system worked, right?
Yeah, and the other thing is when if it's just 600 Bitcoin, that's just individual user security lapses. Who knows?
Right. But either way, I think the way that this one was significant to me or partially was how little effect it actually ended up having on the market.
Right, nobody cared.
Because back in even last year, you would have expected this type of news to, kind of freak people out.
It's true.
But they took it in stride this time.
Already, other news this week. We haven't covered this before. I think it's probably older news than this week, but apparently there's another Bitcoin fork in the works called Bitcoingold.
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoingold. And the idea is that it's going to be a clone of Bitcoin, but they're going to use the Equihash hashing algorithm from Zcash.
All right.
The idea there is to make it so that it can only be mined with GPUs. So right now, in order to mine Bitcoin, of course, you need to have an ASIC miner, like a custom specialty mining equipment. And if with this change to the hashing algorithm, it will make it so that Bitcoin Gold will be a GPU mineable coin.
Huh. So it's kind of just an opportunistic thing, which isn't always. That's kind of how a lot of this stuff works. But
it's founded by a mining company based out of Hong Kong. At this point, it's hard for me to really call these Bitcoin forks. It's just more like I think I kind of will just treat it like a new altcoin.
This one seems a lot more like a new altcoin to me than something that, somebody has to be worried about it for it to be a big deal, right?
Right.
That's what it sort of seems like from a lot of these forks so far.
At any rate, you'll still, if you have Bitcoin, you'll get Bitcoin Gold in it.
Are there any exchanges that are supporting that swap, or that fork?
That's a good question.
I don't think there are, honestly.
I don't know, man. I bet they will.
That would certainly change my perspective on it if it was that easily accessible,
Yeah, totally. I agree. Bitcoin Gold. It's out there. It's coming up. Another Bitcoin fork.
All right. And then also, both Coinbase and Bitfinex announced their stance on the 2x fork.
That's right. SegWit 2x fork is coming up. Coinbase has announced that they essentially will support both forks, so they will credit Bitcoin users with both the Bitcoin Core and the Bitcoin 2x.
Did they have a time frame for that or anything?
Coins. They always just say it's when the network becomes stable again, which
because they still haven't done BCH, right?
I thought they did. I didn't have Bitcoin on Coinbase.
I know. I think they did the crediting, but they're holding off the trading until sometime in 2018 or whatever they said.
Oh, right.
That's what I'm thinking about.
And the other thing is, as far as I know, the replay attack protection is still out in the open on the 2x client. So if they don't do any replay protection, then they will probably wait longer than they did for Bitcoin Cash because there's more risk there for people as far as protecting their addresses and stuff.
Right. I think both of these companies seemed more comfortable with this idea of the fork than they did last time. Like, we've been through this before.
Yeah, I think that, no, you're right. I think Bitcoin Cash really softened people's attitudes toward this kind of thing because everyone thought for sure that if nothing else, Bitcoin Cash would sap some of the value off of Bitcoin. But it ended up that Bitcoin went up, huge right after Bitcoin Cash came out. And then the entire value of Bitcoin Cash essentially was like a free dividend for Bitcoin holders. If you want Bitcoin Cash, you got a bunch of free Bitcoin Cash. If you wanted more Bitcoin, you got a bunch of Bitcoin Cash that you could sell and trade for Bitcoin. It was
just take your pick.
Yeah, it ended up basically having the perceived effect of just being free money for people. It's not really a valid argument because maybe theoretically Bitcoin would have gone up more had Bitcoin Cash not forked off or something. But
yeah, I understand you can't exactly correlate it.
But it doesn't really matter because it's created this sentiment in people's heads that these forks play out like dividends, like it's just some free money in your pocket, like an airdrop.
Well, I think we can talk about that too as we move into the market section here.
Right. So yeah, at any rate, people are excited about these forks, and it's almost like they're driving interest into the market. And yeah, that is going to take us into the markets segment this week.
We like to start it off with that top 100.
Yeah, we're really just going to look at the top 100 alts. We'll do a quick market segment this week because we had our big decentralized thing. So
this week, Bitcoin, well, when we took the measurement, Bitcoin was at $4,547.
That's a $234 gain.
So that was up about 5.4%.
Which is a pretty damn good week for Bitcoin lately. But also
probably the exact amount you find your altcoin portfolio down.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. If you're holding alts, that's probably roughly the beating you took. But let's see. Bitcoin's actually only been going up for 2 weeks. It feels like, you could say 4 weeks, but 4 weeks ago is when we had the big crash. But on the actual weekly candles, it hasn't. It feels like it's been going on longer than it actually has. Let's see here. Our other top coin to look at, Ethereum, is up only about 1080, 3.6%, chilling at 311.30.
Nice.
So you're probably saying, how are alts going to do, right? Historically, in a market like this, with Bitcoin up, you will see alts gain value in USD, but lose value versus Bitcoin, much like Ethereum did. So that's what we would expect for alts this week.
So does time tradition prove to be true?
Let's see here. Versus in the top 100 altcoins, only 22 are up versus USD this week, and only 15 are up versus Bitcoin. And the altcoin market overall is down 7% versus Bitcoin and down 2% versus US dollar.
Okay.
So that's not the case. Alts essentially massively underperformed both Bitcoin and Ethereum this week.
Yep.
So I guess
that definitely seemed to be the case from my perspective, not just the numbers too. Especially it was like just a slow drain to a nice dump this morning.
just a slow drop into a fast drop. Yep. One of the best feelings.
Real good. When
you're just watching the market slide. You don't want to sell because it's already down, but you know that the worst is yet to come. That's one of the most terrifying spots to be at in trading, I think. At any rate, that's what went down. The median change this week is down 17% versus Bitcoin. Rough. These are rough numbers, man.
17% versus Bitcoin and 12.6% versus USD down. Yep. Let's see. What gained? Lumens.
Stellar Lumens.
Up 33%. Ripple. Up 25%.
Regal Coin, whatever that is up 22%. We got PivX up 11%.
Making a little gain.
So those are interesting coins to see doing well. Ripple and Lumens always like to move together, and it's funny. It seems like Lumens usually makes bigger gains. It's almost like Lumens must have more volatility overall, but even then, the biggest winners, these really aren't very big winners. 33%, 25%. Those aren't huge gains,
right?
And then over on the losers, the Kyber network down 90%.
Dang.
That's hilarious.
Salt down 45.
That's like Zcash, early days of Zcash numbers.
Yeah. Byteball down 42.
Token Card down 39. Damn, really, really big losers compared to the winners this week.
The lowest cap on the top 100 this week was Quantum Resistant Ledger at 34 million.
Looking at the overall altcoin markets, they're actually, this is a weird number, right? The actual size of the overall alt market is up 1.1 billion this week, even though altcoins did really poorly, even though the top 100 did poorly.
Yeah.
That probably means that there were that usually means that there were big new coins added into the market. And I'm not sure what they were, but there must be enough new ICOs and shit coming onto the market that it offsets the losses of the ones that were already there.
Right. Which put Bitcoin dominance at 49.8%, which was up about 1%.
Almost back to 50.
And then ETH dominance was at 38.8%, which was also up about 1%.
Yeah, so really a really good week for the top dogs, right? Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple all posted big gains, and basically everything else got crushed.
Litecoin's managing to somehow still be worth $50.
It's clinging on. Is it at? Oh, yeah, it's at 54. Nice.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I think that's pretty amazing.
That is great. Alrighty, that's going to do it for the markets this week, and that is going to bring us into the dot giveaway. We're still looking for ways to bring this thing offline, but for now, the dot giveaway is still just for the live listeners.
Yep, that's right.
So if you're listening live, get ready. We're giving away 5,000 dots. What you have to do is send a Twitter message to @ChainDynamics. Just a public Twitter message, one guess per person.
Yep. The first person to get it right will win the dot. The question this week is, on the TV show Nathan For You, what is the name of the private investigator who Nathan frequently visits?
That's right. On television's Nathan For You, there's a recurring private investigator character. What is the name of that person?
Good luck, Nathan For You fans out
First
there.
person to tweet it at us gets the 5,000 dot. Next, we're going to move into coin listings.
We love to look at those coin listings.
This has got to be the quietest week of listings we've seen in a long time, at least as far as the bigger platforms.
Yep, we got nothing on Cryptopia, nothing on Poloniex, nothing on Bittrex.
How does that happen?
So let's move on to Novaexchange here.
Alrighty, over on Novaexchange, they listed a bundle of stuff here, about what you might expect.
They listed Nox coin.
It's just a 10% pre-mine, proof-of-work, proof-of-stake coin.
They listed Matrix coin.
This is just a generic script coin, but the ticker is MSP, which is hilarious.
Good luck with that.
Obviously, that's the mothership ticker. But the name is Matrix coin. It doesn't even have the letter S in it. Whatever. It's coins. You can't ask too many questions.
Nope. Laxmi coin.
Lakshmi coin. That's a pre-mine coin.
Bitcoinage.
Another high pre-mine coin.
They listed Malaysia coin.
Couldn't find any info on that one.
Grant Line coin.
Didn't get anything on that either.
Bitcoiny and Rajmudra coin. Both the same thing there. No info.
I don't know where they're finding these coins, man. These guys, they got to optimize their
Player
search engines.
coin, which was a pretty bad looking ICO. RUPAY coin, which is just we don't know. So many times we've seen that name. Don't know what it means.
There's got to have been
over and over
20, 30 coins with either swaps of that name or
Eddy coin. This one actually might stand out a little bit to me because it says that it's a no pre-mine coin. Okay. And it has one of those posts where it went from no graphics to full of graphics, you know.
No graphics to graphics.
No
look at
graphics
this.
to graphics.
Ooh. Pre-mine 0%. They got something that you could call a roadmap. Strictly speaking, in the eyes of the law, it's a roadmap. Got the nodes up there. This is fine.
So that one's there. Champ coin. There's too many champ coins as well. I don't know at this point. It's too confusing. Kangaroo bits 2. At least we could keep track of this one because we've only seen like one kangaroo bit so far. So this is just a swap of kangaroo bits.
This Eddy coin has crazy stake. That's the trick. It's got like a periodic stake where it's like 5,000%. It's like swing coin.
Ah, nice. I remember that one.
Okay, sorry.
We got a winner on the
dots
question.
Dot,
yep.
We got a dot winner.
Yep.
Another 5,000.
Brian Wolf.
Brian Wolf was the name of the private investigator on Nathan For You.
It goes to the person that did it publicly.
Oh, nice. We got a
that.
DM first.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if it was first, but oh yeah, it was by a minute.
Goes down in the DM. Yeah, we got to do the first public tweet.
Yeah, that's how people know that it's legit.
So sorry to the private messenger. All right, good stuff.
Congrats.
Congrats to y'all. We'll get you some dot. Yeah, so back on the new coins, the Kangaroo Bits 2. It's a swap of Kangaroo Bits. So if you're a Kangaroo Bits holder, you're going to want to...
Right.
This was kind of questionable to me because it's just a download link with no GitHub, which is not a good sign.
I just remember how ripped that kangaroo was.
Yeah, you're going to want to be a muscular kangaroo if you want to sell coins, dude.
Over on Livecoin, they listed Vibrate.
ICO.
Coinexchange.io listed
A bunch of ICOs.
INXT, Jetcoin, Detector Coin, Voice, Basstone, Golden Crypto Coin, FLIK, and Social.
Those are all ICOs, every single one.
FLIK has TI.
Yeah, there's one notable one. FLIK. FLIK's got the rapper TI. Hyping it for God knows what reason.
On Liqui, they listed Endorse and TRON Foundation, which are both just ICOs with, general premises.
More
What can you say?
ICOs. I think...
All right, let's
the market-
recap them.
Eddie Coin, man.
Eddie Coin is the one that doesn't have the pre-mine, so we just like that.
Maybe it's just
Easy.
like me refusing to take my hand off the burner, but I'm just going to keep looking for no pre-mine proof of work coins. Or low, low pre. I can tolerate a pre-mine, but it's got to have like some meaning to it.
Right.
All right. At any rate, that is probably really it for the listings this week.
Just going to take us into our last segment, which is the coin birthdays.
I love them birthdays. We got a 1 year.
Yeah, we got one birthday, and it is BitCoal.
BitCoal.
This was the only surviving crypto note coin of the week when we had our review with Not So Fast, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's true. It's the only one that actually survived this amount of time, so got to give him credit for that. But really, it doesn't seem like there's a lot going on.
No, not much there, but happy birthday to BitCoal.
BitCoal. I wonder if they fixed the exploit.
They had an update recently. I would hope that they would have at least, if not before, included it.
You'd think they'd have gotten to it by now.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, happy birthday to you all at BitCoal. Congratulations on keeping it going as a crypto note coin. It's pretty rare.
And that's going to do it for show number 82.
Alrighty. Thanks everyone for checking us out. Congratulations to the winner of the trivia question. We will be getting you those dots. My name's Brandon Doge.
And I am Woody. The show was brought to you today by cryptopia.co.nz.
The website, it's blockchaindynamics.net.
And we will see you next week with heavier bags.
Currency.
Like a couple Bitcoins.
Money, 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 though.
Hold up on my Nakamoto.